We're going to get into my top way to get into real estate, which is wholesaling. Wholesaling. Wholesaling real estate is a cool strategy for making money with houses. You find homes that need fixing up, and then you get them under contract at a good price and then sell them to investors who will pay you a fee. Now, if this is the first time you're hearing about this, you probably have a million questions like, what is this? Is this legal? What type of fee are we talking about? I'm going to break that down. Remember, this is a wholesaling course. I'm going to teach you how to make money wholesaling. So, wholesaling real estate is a cool strategy for making money with houses. You find homes that need fixing up, you get them under contract at a good price, and then you sell them to investors who will pay you a fee because those investors are typically going to come in with their crew, renovate the property. So this is typically how a wholesale transaction works, right? You got the seller over here, and you got the wholesaler, right? You get the property under contract with a basic purchase and sale agreement, which I recommend you have your attorney review, right? I'm not an attorney, I'm not giving any legal advice, but you get a property under contract with the seller at a certain price that you know will work for a buyer, which we will go in depth later on how to actually make sure you're making offers where you can sell the property to a buyer. So this is pretty much how it works, right? You get the property, you're the wholesaler right here, and this is the seller right here. You and the seller agree on a price, you get that property under contract, and then you go ahead and you find a buyer over here, a cash buyer that's willing to pay you more for the property. You go ahead and you sign a contract with them for higher than what you're paying the seller. So as you can see, my contract here with the seller is $150K, and then I was able to find a buyer over here for $170. What does that mean? That means as the wholesaler, I just made a $20,000 profit. That is literally what it is. If you guys are still confused, let me just say it again. Wholesaling is pretty much finding properties that need work, getting them at the right price, so then you can go ahead and sell it to a cash buyer, an investor that's going to actually do the work and renovate it. And that cash buyer is going to pay you a fee. As you can see in this example, I got it for $150, I sold it to the cash buyer for $170, and my profit was $20,000. Right? So just to explain this in simplest terms, as a wholesaler, we're Cupid. As you can see, wholesaler equals Cupid. We match houses to investors for a fee. So you know how Cupid is, right? We're finding the perfect guy for the perfect girl. That's kind of how this works, right? We're finding the right property for the right investor, and we're collecting a fee. We don't need a down payment. We don't need credit. None of that extra stuff. Cool. So as you can see here, this is a win-win situation because the seller gets to sell their agreed property to a cash buyer, and the cash buyer, pays the seller the quick money that they need. Typically, they have like a stressful situation. Now, wholesaling is the best way to get started in real estate. Why? Risk is very minor. There's really literally little to no risk. Right? There is a small risk if you're kind of stupid and you make promises that you can't keep, or you're not doing things by how I'm going to teach you in this course, then there's a very small risk. But for the most part, if you're very transparent and clear and you follow everything I'm going to tell you, there's literally very little risk. You don't need credit. You don't need a license. You don't need a down payment or a bank loan. You don't need to take ownership of the property, guys. We're not taking ownership of the house. We're just getting that property under contract, and then we're going and assigning those rights to a cash buyer. Okay? So risk is very minor. You don't need credit. You don't need a license. You don't need a down payment or a bank loan. You don't need to take ownership of the property. You can back away from a deal without costly consequences. Okay? If done correctly, yes, you can back out of the contract. If you got it too high of a price where you can't find a buyer, you can back out with no consequences if done correctly. Now, wholesaling is a way to invest in real estate where you find houses and pass them to someone else for a fee. You can study the market to become more secure when you want to fix and flip or rent houses in the future. So this is just my advice. I highly recommend that everyone that wants to get started in real estate start with wholesaling. They start with wholesaling, and then once they become advanced in that market, they understand the values of the properties, then they can start getting into fix and flips and buying rentals, right, in the future. Okay? So wholesaling real estate is a real estate investment strategy that involves finding and putting properties under contract at a discounted price and then selling them to another investor for profit. Okay? Is this legal? Yes, wholesaling is legal. The practice of real estate wholesaling has become more popular in the last couple of decades. It gained popularity during the real estate boom of the early 2000s. So this has been going on for a long time, guys. This is not something I discovered. This is something that's been going on for a long time. Honestly, I don't even know who invented it, but it's been going on for longer than I've been alive. Now, the only states that I would avoid are Oklahoma, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Georgia. Those are the states that I would avoid because there's regulations in those states. I highly recommend you avoid those states. And then any other state that's not listed here is pretty much open game. Now, do I have to purchase the property outright in order to wholesale? No, you are not purchasing the property outright. You are putting the house under contract and then selling your rights to purchase the house to an investor. Do I need a license? No, you do not need a license for this. You just need the right paperwork. 1, a purchase and sale contract, and 2, an assignment contract. Now, once again, guys, I'm not giving you guys legal advice, okay? You need to consult an attorney when it comes to like contracts and stuff, but generally, you just need a purchase and sale contract that is following all the regulations in your state, a purchase and sale contract, and an assignment contract. The purchase or sale is for you to sign with the seller, and then the assignment is what you sign with the buyer to collect your fee, your difference. Now, purchase and sale contract, what is that? When you sign a purchase and sale agreement with a homeowner, you can actually sell your rights to purchase that property. You can let someone else, an investor, take your place. That is called assigning your contract. Investors will pay you a fee anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 for you to assign the contract to them. So it depends on how well you negotiate with the seller. If you get a great discount, great, you're going to make more money. And now an assignment contract, the person, right, the wholesaler, makes a purchase and sale agreement to buy a house from the owner for a certain price. They sign a contract that says they'll pay a specific amount for the house. The wholesaler will find another person, the investor, who wants the house for more or is willing to pay more money. In this case, the wholesaler would do an assignment of contract. They sign an agreement with the buyer, and the buyer agrees to take over the purchase and sale contract from the wholesaler. So if you guys are confused, let's just backtrack a little bit, okay? Remember, guys, to do this wholesaling thing that I'm talking about, you need a purchase and sale, which is going to go with the seller, right? You're signing a purchase sale with the seller. And then once you got that property under contract, you can go ahead and send it out to your investors that are looking for flips. And then if one of them likes it, obviously you put your fee on top. And then if they like it, you can have them sign an assignment of contract. Because if you guys didn't know, a purchase and sale agreement is assignable. Assignable means if I get this piece of paper, right? I get this piece of paper here. You and me sign a contract that I'm going to buy your house for 100K, right? You and me signing this agreement. Unless on the agreement it states that it's not assignable, then you can assign this. So I can go ahead and say, okay, Mr. Seller, we just signed this agreement. Now I'm going to take this agreement. I can take this piece of paper and I can assign my rights to purchase the property at this price to a cash buyer. Now I'm going to send this out to buyers with my fee on top. So I'll do like 120, and I'll tell buyers, hey, do you want to take over this property for 120? They'll say, yeah, I want it for that price. You go ahead and you sign an assignment contract with the buyer, right? So your purchase and sale with the seller, and then your assignment contract, which is saying that the investor is going to pay your fee and they're going to step in your shoes and fulfill the original contract with the seller. Okay, now I'm going to go over examples. We're going to go over it, so don't get confused, right? So what you need, a purchase and sale contract and an assignment contract for assigning your rights to the buyer so you can collect your fee. Okay, so we went over the purchase and sale contract. We are going over the assignment, right? So as you can see here, so the buyer signs the assignment of contract to say they'll now buy the house instead of the wholesaler. This way the wholesaler can make some money without actually buying the house themselves. Cool. So this is where we're going to get into an example. So purchase and sale contract. First, there's a contract between the wholesaler, which is you, and the seller of the property. This contract says that you can buy the property for a certain price. Remember? So this is the seller right here. I called the seller and I said, hey, do you want to sell your property? We agreed on a price. We agreed at $175. Cool. Now, I went ahead and I got that property, and I went ahead and I found my buyer, my cash buyer, my investor, landlords that want more rentals, right? And I tell them, hey, I have this property. Would you be interested in getting this property from me at $185? As you can see here, I marked up the price. The seller is getting $175, but the buyer is paying me $185. So I'm getting that difference in between. But I would need an assignment of contract. Okay, so with the seller, we sign the purchase and sale at a price. And later on, I'm going to go in detail of what price you need to get it at, because you can't just be signing contracts at any price. It needs to be a price below what an investor needs it at. That way you can make a profit, and then the investor that's paying you is also going to make a profit by renovating the property. Okay, so you and the seller sign for $175, the purchase and sale. You go ahead and you tell your buyers, hey, I have this property for $185. The buyer likes it, right? The cash buyer investor likes it. You guys sign. He signs an assignment contract. Now you tell your investor about this great deal. So you both agree that your investor can take your place in that contract. This is the assignment. It's like you're passing on your right to buy the property to your investor. That's literally what it is. By signing this, they're basically saying, I'll take over this deal, and I promise to pay the seller the amount we agreed on and pay you your assignment fee for bringing me this deal. Okay? And as you can see here, the buyer paid $185 for the property. The seller gets $175, which is what we agreed on the purchase and sale. And then I collect my difference from what the seller's getting and what I charge the buyer, right? This is known as my wholesale fee, my assignment fee. People call it wholesale fee, assignment fee, whatever it is. It's the difference. It's the profit that you're making. Now, I know you guys are probably wondering, what type of homeowners are we looking for to get under contract and buy their house so we can assign the contract? We are looking for homeowners who are facing stressful circumstances or the property is in poor condition. Okay, so for wholesaling, we are looking for ugly houses. If the house is ugly or there's some sort of problem going there, then typically we can make an offer where we can make money. Now, you guys are probably wondering, why in the world would a homeowner sell the property at a discount? Because remember, we need these houses at a discount because we're selling them to an investor who also needs to make money, either on the renovation or either on they're going to keep it as a rental, right? So we need to make sure that we're getting the property at a discount. And now, obviously, why would a seller sell at a discount? The seller is in pain because of the property. They're ready to leave it all behind. This is known as a motivated seller. Okay, so if you guys didn't know, there's people that own properties that are going in foreclosure, that are dealing with problems, that they would just rather sell it at a discount to just get rid of it. This is known as a motivated seller. Now, why would a seller be in pain, right? Why would a homeowner be in pain? Maybe they have bad tenants, right? Maybe they're a tired landlord. The house is falling apart. Repairs are too expensive for the seller. Moving out of the country, which I actually get this one a lot. Death in the family. Sometimes someone has died in the family. A sickness, right? Maybe the seller's sick or the relative is sick and they need to liquidate the property now. Probate, divorce, fast sale for whatever reason, right? These are just some of the reasons why a seller would sell quickly. Now, there are a lot more. I've dealt with sellers in all weird situations. Like, you will not imagine the reasons why they will sell at a discount until you call them and present an offer. Understand that? Sometimes the seller wants to move because there's a rapist that lives 2 houses down and they want to move all their kids somewhere else, and they're willing to sell at a discount like this. And this is what we're looking for, guys, when it comes to wholesaling. We want to get properties under contract so then we can assign them to investors, cash buyers, but we can't just sign them at whatever price. It has to be a great deal. And in order for us to get great deals, the seller needs to be desperate. The seller needs to be motivated. So they need to have some sort of pain. They can't just be happy with the house and they love the neighborhood. They want to stay there forever. That's not the seller we're looking for. We're looking for people that have pain. It might sound a little mean to say, but we're looking for people that are necessarily desperate to sell. And we're helping them out, because who else is going to buy their property quickly? No one else. It has to be an investor, a cash buyer. Now, why would an investor pay me a fee? Because I know some of you are saying, okay, we understand now that the seller needs to be desperate, a motivated seller. There needs to be some sort of pain, right, for us to get these properties at a discount for us to make money. But why would an investor pay us a fee? So the investor is going to make a profit by either flipping it or keeping it as a rental. So the investor, if it's a deal, the investor will not mind paying you an assignment fee. Investor is going to make money. So if they're going to make money, chances sometimes they're going to make more money than you fixing the property up, right? They're willing to pay you that 10 grand, 20 grand, 15 grand, because they're going to make money some way, somehow. Whether it's renovating the house or putting a tenant in there, they're going to make money. That's why they're okay with paying you a fee. Now, what type of buyers do you work with? So what type of cash buyers are we working with? Flippers, landlords, cash buyers looking to buy for whatever reason, but no bank financing. Okay, so with these type of properties that we're looking to wholesale, typically they need repairs. Loan from the bank is never going to go through on properties that need work. So you can never sell these wholesale properties to a homeowner that wants to move their family in there and they're going to use like a Bank of America or Chase loan. Because guess what? The bank is going to send somebody out to the house. And if the house is ugly and needs work, they're not going to lend for that house. They're not going to lend. So this is why you need to work with flippers or landlords or cash buyers, which is like maybe doctors that just want to buy the house quickly for whatever reason, which I've seen happen before, right? So flippers, they're going to be getting private or hard money lender, right? Which is not money from the bank. This is money from a private individual. We are working with flippers, landlords, or a cash buyer that is looking to buy the house for whatever reason, but no bank financing. No bank financing, okay? Now, what type of buyers to avoid? This is what I was just telling you guys before. We can't sell houses to first-time buyers or anyone using a bank loan, like an FHA or a VA loan. We cannot sell these wholesale houses to them because the bank, first of all, won't even allow them to pay us an assignment fee. Also, the bank won't even approve the sale of this house because the house needs so much work. And also, the bank is not going to be able to fund the house in like 20 days and get it closed. No way, Jose. Okay, so we are working with cash buyers, investors, or people that have cash that just want to buy the house for whatever reason, which I've seen happen. My recent deal, I sold the property to a guy that was in a local church, and he was looking to renovate the house for himself and his family, but he paid cash, okay? So that's why I'm saying cash buyer or investor, okay? The type of buyers we need are a cash buyer, person paying with their personal cash to buy the house for whatever reason, or a flipper that's getting that hard money lender, which is also private cash, or a landlord that probably is getting private cash, or they have already cash that they're going to pay with. Okay, so wholesaling, we can sell our deals to buyers that are paying with cash. Okay, we cannot sell our deals to buyers that are getting loans from the bank. Houses that need work will not pass bank approval. This is why we only work with buyers using cash, hard money, or private money. Now, we're going to go over some wholesaling terms, which is pretty much just the terms that you need to know in order to actually do a transaction like this. So, some of the wholesaling terms is the after repair value, which is known as the ARV. Now, this is the house's value once it's fully renovated. Now, we're going to go over later on exactly how to determine the ARV. It's not as hard as you think. Then, max allowable offer is the max you can offer the seller. Repair cost is the cost of repairing the property to 2024 standards. And then assignment fee, this is the fee that you will be making, right? The difference between what the seller is getting and then what you're selling it to the investor cash buyer. Remember, we have to get the property under contract at a good price. And in order for us to get it at a good price, there's a certain equation that we can use. And that equation, we need to figure out what the ARV is, what our MAO is, what the repair costs, and essentially what our assignment fee is going to be. So these are all the terms that we need to know, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it later on. And then comps, flips that are comparable that sold recently. So in order for us to know the value of a property, we're always going to look at the comps, not usually, always, okay? The prices that we're offering these sellers are all based on numbers and facts, right? I'm not offering the seller based on how I feel about them. I'm offering them a price based on the facts, right? What are other properties selling for when they're fully renovated? Okay, that's the ARV. And then how much would it take to renovate this property to bring it to this ARV? That's the repair cost. Then our assignment fee. And then we can get the price that we can offer them. Does that make sense? So it's usually the ARV minus repair costs minus our assignment fee. And then we also subtract other stuff like commissions and realtor fees and stuff like that, right? And that's going to give us our MAO, which is our max allowable offer. Now we're going to go in depth in this later on. I just want you guys to start getting familiar with these terms, but just understand these terms. ARV is after repair value, what the house is worth fully renovated. Max allowable offer is the max price you can offer the seller while still making a profit. Repair costs, the cost of repairing the property to 2024 standards. And then assignment fee, the fee you will be making. And then the comps, flips that are comparable that sold recently. And then inspection period. This is typically, remember I said that you can back out of the contract with the seller with no repercussions, right? There's no costly consequences. That is because you have an inspection period. Your inspection period is the time that you have to find a buyer who's going to then put that earnest money down and essentially close on the property, right? That is an inspection period. Typically, you want your inspection period to be like 3 to 5 days. Well, honestly, to be real, you're probably going to need 5 to 7 days as an inspection period to source the buyer. And if you don't find a buyer, no problem. You call the seller. You either renegotiate or you back out of the contract with no damage done. But the earnest money deposit can be $100, $1,000. It just really does depend on the seller and what they're agreeing with, because sometimes they're not going to be okay with $100. That money you never give to the seller. That money you give to the title company or the closing attorney that is doing the closing. And I'm going to get into that later. But these are the terms: the ARV, MAO, repair costs, assignment fee, comps, inspection period, and EMD. Now, let's check out an example. You call the seller, ask them if they want to sell their house. They say yes. You check out the property, right? You run your little formula to figure out what's the best price to offer them. And then you come out with $220 is the best you can offer them. They say, great, that worked for me. You get the property under contract with the seller for $220. Then you go ahead and you find a cash buyer or an investor that's willing to pay you more for the property. You put your price, right, your markup. As you can see here, we were able to sell the property for $245. So that means we made $25,000 here in this transaction. Easy as that. The seller gets $220, the buyer gets a new property, and I made a profit of $25,000. Now, how do we find motivated sellers? Marketing, guys. Marketing. Because I know you guys are probably wondering, how the heck am I going to find a motivated seller? Now, you could do Facebook ads, you could do Google ads, you could do cold calling, direct mail, radio, TV, driving for dollars, door knocking. You can work with real estate agents, which is the free way. Now, there's a ton of ways to market to sellers. But at the end of the day, you need to consistently be marketing to property owners. You cannot, by no means, just expect that these sellers are going to come to you. You need to market to them, either by Facebook ads, Google ads, cold calling, direct mail, radio, whatever method you want to do, but it needs to be something that you're going to do consistently. Any of these methods work, you just have to do it consistently. If you do it consistently, then you're going to be fine. Now, what is the cheapest way to find motivated sellers? The cheapest way is cold calling or driving for dollars. Cold calling is going to be the cheapest way. Okay, Facebook ads, Google PPC, stuff like that costs thousands of dollars. If you don't have $2,000 to spend every month, then don't even bother with Facebook or PPC. Google ads, you're probably going to need like $3,000 every month. Facebook ads, you're probably going to need like $1,500 every month. So if you don't have that money, don't worry. There's still ways to get deals without having to pay all that money, right? So cold calling and driving for dollars. Cold calling is really one of the methods I'm going to show you later on. But cold calling is literally just buying a list of property owners and calling them and asking if they want to sell, and then finding out if they're motivated or not, and then presenting an offer. If they like it, you get it under contract. If they don't like it, on to the next. Driving for dollars is pretty much when you put gas in your car and then you drive around town looking for ugly properties. And you write the address down and then you call the seller later. That's honestly the best way, but that only works if you're actually local in your market. If you're virtual, you're gonna have to just stick to cold calling. And then the third, working with real estate agents. So yes, you can actually go on market and make offers every day. If you make 3 to 5 offers every day on market properties, then eventually you're gonna get a deal. Because remember, even the realtor contracts are assignable. You just need to make sure that it doesn't say it's not assignable. If a realtor's contract says this is not assignable, then you can't assign it. But if it doesn't state that it's not assignable, and you can always ask the realtor to cross off that line that says it's not assignable, then you can easily go ahead and still assign that property to a cash buyer for a profit. You can still do it on market. It doesn't have to just be off market going to a seller. You can most definitely do this with real estate agents. Okay, so here, marketing 101. How does cold calling work? This is probably the method that I recommend you guys start with, cold calling, because it's the cheapest and it just builds you up to talking to sellers better. I can actually phrase that better. So with cold calling, you're gonna start building your confidence on talking with people on the phone. And then eventually you're gonna become a beast salesperson where you're gonna close deals much faster. How does cold calling work? 1, you purchase a list of homeowners, right? The phones and the addresses. Then 2, you upload them to something that is called a dialer. Now we're gonna get deeper into what a dialer is and which types of dialers to use, but a dialer is just a software that you can press a button. It's gonna call 3 people, 4 people, 5 people at a time, and whoever picks up first is the person you're gonna talk with. And all you're gonna do is ask them, hey, my name is Nataly. I just wanna give you a quick call about your property on 123 Main Street. Have you been thinking about selling it? No? Okay, hang up. Thank you for your time, hang up. If they say, yeah, I've been thinking about selling it, okay, great. What can you tell me about the property? Then we start trying to get a little bit more information about the property. And then we'll present our offer. If they like it, we get it under contract. If they don't like it, we follow up or we just take them out as they're not interested. And we keep doing that consistent action every day and we will land a deal. Okay, so for cold calling, you purchase a list of homeowners. Purchase a list of homeowners, which is going to have the phone number of the homeowner and the address of their property. 2, you upload that into a dialer. 3, you call homeowners to ask if they want to sell. So how do you talk to these homeowners, right? Let's say you bought your list already of property owners. And if you guys are a little confused on the list part of things, there is a bunch of providers out there. And I personally get all my lists from Batch Leads. That's where I buy all my lists from, right? But you can get a list from anywhere, right? If you want to get the probate list, go down to the county clerk, right? If you want to get the fire department list, there's ways of getting all types of lists. But all in all, a list is just a CSV file of property owners with their first name, last name, the address, and the phone number that you can reach them at. You will call them and ask them if they want to sell the property. Now, in this portion, we're going to be talking about how to actually talk to these homeowners. You must gather 4 important things from the seller: the condition of the house, Timeline. When are they looking to sell that property? Motivation. Why are they selling? Is there any pain? Price. How much are they asking for the house? Okay, so these are very important things. Now, I am going to give you guys a script on what to actually say. But down the line, as you start cold calling, you start spending hours on the dialer cold calling, you're going to start to kind of understand that it doesn't really matter how you ask the question. It just matters that you get this information, right? You need the condition, you need the timeline, you need the motivation and the price. It doesn't necessarily matter how you ask the question, but you need to get this information from them, okay? Because we need to know, what is the condition of the house? If the condition is good and pristine, the house needs no work, then guess what? Chances are it's not going to work as a wholesale deal. Now, timeline. When are they looking to sell? Are they desperate to sell now? When are they looking to sell this property? In 3 years? Now? Next year? 6 months? We need to know when they're looking to sell. That way we can, follow up with them accordingly. So when are they looking to sell? Now, timeline. Why are they looking to sell? What's the reason? Typically, I will never say, hey, why are you looking to sell? Never. I will say, wow, this is a lovely neighborhood. How come you're thinking of leaving it? You must hate your neighbors, huh? Then they'll say, no, I love my neighbors. It's just my wife and the kids want to move out, blah, 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 right? They'll start telling you, right? So these things here, the condition, timeline, motivation, and price, these are known as the 4 pillars in real estate. These 4 pillars is how you qualify a seller, right? Now, there's different ways of asking the condition. There's different ways of asking the timeline. There's different ways of asking for the motivation. There's different ways of asking for the price or getting the price out of the seller. There's so many different ways to say it. You say it the best way that you know, right? With your personality. I just want you to get these 4 pillars of crucial information from the seller. Obviously, you want to be respectful, and there are certain sales tricks that you can do, like asking open-ended questions and stuff like that. Got to get these 4 pillars: the condition, timeline, motivation, and price. You got to get this information from the seller when you're talking to them on the phone. Okay, so how to qualify sellers, right? You guys got your list, you put it in the dialer. We're talking now to property owners, and we will talk to thousands of property owners. We'll talk to thousands of homeowners. You need to learn to be good at filtering through property owners, only spending time on the ones that are motivated to sell or the house needs extensive work. Okay? So remember that I mentioned we're gathering these 4 pillars. The reason we're gathering these pillars is because we want to determine if this property owner is actually worth it for us to follow up on, to keep checking up on, to present an offer. Is it even worth it? If the seller says the condition of the property is in good condition, I don't really know, maybe next year I'll sell it. A motivation, you called me, I'm not really thinking of selling it. Price, I don't know. That sounds like the worst type of seller ever. You don't want to waste your time with that person. But if you ask them condition, timeline, motivation, price, and they say, yeah, the condition is rough, I can't really afford these repairs anymore. Timeline, honestly, I want to get rid of it now. Motivation, honestly, my grandmother just passed away and this house has just been a pain. I honestly don't even know what to do with it. And then price, they might say a price, or they might say, I don't know what the house is worth. That sounds like the perfect person. There's obviously a problem there. The condition is bad. There's a motivation and they want to sell it. That is the perfect person to keep in touch with and make an offer, because that is the person you're going to be able to get a wholesale deal with. You're going to be able to close a wholesale deal with that type of seller. Okay, so then that just brings me to my next point, right? How to qualify sellers. We need to qualify these sellers getting those 4 pillars, because if we don't, we're going to waste a bunch of time talking to people that will never sell their house, and we will never make any sort of money from them. We'll never make no money, right? So make sure you're only spending your valuable time on sellers that either, one, have a painful situation, or the property is in horrendous condition. Right? If they have one of those 2 things, or both of them, even better, you want to keep in touch with them and add them to your CRM, which I'll explain what a CRM is later on. But all that is a tool where you will keep track of all the sellers you speak to in an organized way. Now, the seller needs to be one of two things: either motivated to sell, right? They're in a painful situation, or two, the condition is rough. Those are the only two reasons why I will ever spend any time with a seller, right? Because that will potentially be a wholesale deal right there. Now remember this: if there is no motivation, there is no deal. Let's all say it again, right? If there is no motivation, there is no deal, okay? And if the condition is rough, that is kind of a motivation, guys. If the roof is falling apart, the seller can't afford it, that is a motivation. If the seller wants to move out of the country because, whatever situation, they have a sick relative in Europe, that is motivation. But if a seller says, I haven't really been thinking about it, I like this area, that is not motivation. They had no urge to sell whatsoever. You're just reaching out to them and they just want to waste your time. So remember this: if there is no motivation, there is no deal. They need to be motivated, or the condition needs to be rough. Because remember, if the condition is rough, that is a motivation right there too. So no motivation, no deal. Now, no motivation and good condition also is no deal, right? If the seller is not motivated, right? They're like, you called me, I'm not really looking for an offer, I haven't really been thinking about selling. Yeah, my house is honestly in pristine and good condition. Then you don't have a deal there, right? The seller's not going to sell at a discount. They're not motivated, and the house doesn't even need work. Now, no motivation and bad condition, that is a potential deal. So keep following up with that seller, right? You might sometimes bump into sellers they're like, I haven't really been thinking about selling the property, but the house is in horrible condition. That is a potential deal, because at any given moment, the condition of the property can actually affect them so bad that they just want to sell it. Okay? So if there's no motivation, no deal. If there's no motivation and good condition, there's no deal. But if there's no motivation and bad condition, that is potential right there. Because even though they might not have that much motivation, the condition of the property is so bad that it's actually worth it to keep following up with them. Okay? And this is how I want you to qualify your sellers when you're cold calling them, or when you're door knocking, or even if a seller calls you up from like a postcard that you sent them. You need to get those 4 pillars as we spoke about: condition, timeline, motivation, and price. It doesn't necessarily have to be in that order, but you have to get those 4 crucial points. And then you have to remember that they need to either be, one, motivated, or the condition is horrible, right? No motivation, no deal. No motivation, good condition, no deal. No motivation and bad condition, that's a potential deal right there. And yes, motivation, obviously, yes, potential deal. If the seller is motivated, they have some sort of pain, then obviously there's a deal there. And if you guys are not aware of what I mean when I say motivation is pain, like probate, tired landlord. There's something that's hurting them that makes them want to sell this property. There is a problem. That is what I mean by motivation. They're motivated to sell because there's a problem. Okay, so this is where we get into the CRM aspect of things. So marketing 101, how to manage leads. When I say leads, I am referring to a person who owns a house who wants to sell it, right? Whether you got this homeowner from a postcard you sent them, you cold called them, you did a Facebook ad, you did a PPC. If they say they want to sell, they are a lead, right? That is when you have to qualify them to determine where you're going to put them in your CRM. So a lead, yes, is interested in selling. Now, you must have a CRM to organize and manage your leads. Now, a CRM is just a software, a tool that you will put all your sellers in to follow up with them, okay? So back in the day, people used to have they used to have notebooks and they'll write, oh, Jane Smith, I spoke to her this day, or James Mark, whatever, I spoke to him this day and I got to call him this other day to present the offer, or I have to take pictures of a property a certain day, right? Back in the day, they would just use notebooks and stuff like that. But now you definitely want to be advanced. You want to get a software, Okay, you need to get a software where you can actually be managing those leads. You can't just use a notebook, and you can't just put this in the top of your head and try to remember it. You need a CRM to manage those leads. You need to be able to manage the people that said they're not interested. You'll put them in the not interested section of the CRM. Or people that say, yeah, I want to sell, but 6 months from now. Okay, you put them in the 6 months follow-up campaign in your CRM. Or if they say, yeah, I want to sell right now, you put them in the hot section so you can talk to them ASAP. Or if they say, yeah, you can come check out the property, you need to put them in the walkthrough section so you can remember to do a walkthrough. Does that make sense? Okay, so what is a CRM? CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. A CRM is like a software that helps you track all your leads. You can manage your emails, texts, and calls all in one place. This will help you keep seller communication organized. Now, how to organize your leads in the CRM. Now, there's a bunch of CRMs, guys, out there, but you want to organize your leads like this: hot, warm, cold. Hot, warm, cold. So a hot lead is a property owner who wants to sell in the next 1 to 3 weeks. A warm lead is a property owner that wants to sell in 1 to 2 months. And a cold lead is a property owner who wants to sell in 6 months. This will help you concentrate your efforts on homeowners who are ready to sell their house now, right? So if you talk on the dialer to a property owner and they say, hey, I want to sell my property, right? You qualify them, you get the condition, motivation, timeline, price. They want to sell their house, they are a lead, right? Right there, whatever. If they're not motivated and the condition is perfect, you can go ahead and mark it as a not interested in your CRM. That way they're not in any of the hot, warm, cold, right? But if the seller's motivated, there's some sort of pain, the condition is bad, and they want to sell 6 months from now, you'll put them in the cold. They're a cold lead. But if the seller says, yeah, I need to sell this house now, my grandmother passed away 6 months ago, we need to sell it now, that is a hot. And if they say, hey, I want to sell, but I do need my husband to come back from the army or whatever, I need to wait a couple months before I can sell. Like something needs to happen before they can sell, and it's going to take a couple months, that is a warm. So this is how you want to organize your leads, from hot, warm, and cold. Remember, and a lead is anyone that wants to sell. But obviously, once you get a lead, you have to ask those 4 pillars so you can determine if you're going to put that seller as the not interested or if you're going to put them as a hot, warm, or cold lead. If you organize your leads like this, then you're constantly going to be talking to people that are ready to sell. You don't want to spend time wasting on people that are not ready to make a move. Marketing 101, different types of CRMs. There is so many options, but we will cover this in detail later on a video called Picking Your CRM. So there's a bunch of CRMs. Even I sell a certain CRMs. There's free CRMs, there's paid CRMs. I don't care what you get, but you cannot be using notes like this as a CRM. This is unacceptable, guys. You need to use a software to manage your hot, warm, cold, and your not interested leads, which are the people that want to sell or say they want to sell, but the property's in perfect condition, there's no motivation, or there's just no reason to even work with them because they don't qualify. They're not motivated. There's no potential deal there. The condition is not bad, right? You need to have a place to manage all those leads, okay? So hot, warm, cold, and then not interested. You need to have a place to manage that. Now, typically, most CRMs cost about $100 per month. Some examples, reireply.com. That is the CRM that I use. InvestorFuse, which I've heard is very good. Trello.com. This is the only 100% free CRM, which I would recommend if you use it as a beginner if you'd like, no problem. And Podio, which is my least favorite because you will need at least $500 to set up a Podio correctly. So if you don't have $500, say bye-bye to Podio. Don't even bother, right? So these are the options, guys. I will have a video showing you in depth the REI Reply one, the Trello, and also Podio. I've never used InvestorFuse, so I can't talk on that one, but I have heard great things from a lot of investors. So these are different type of CRMs. Pick whichever you like. If you want my opinion, wait till the next video. I will be covering these in more detail and, sharing my screen and just going over the CRMs. Okay. So just to recap, we talked about wholesaling, right? The key terms. We talked about how we make money in wholesaling. We talked about the purchase and sale contract, the assignment contract. Now we also talked about how to qualify leads, right? The 4 pillars: condition, motivation, timeline, and price. We also talked about what is a lead. A lead is anyone that wants to sell. And then we qualify them with the 4 pillars, and then we identify where we're going to put them in our CRM. Either they're not interested because there's no motivation and the condition is not bad, or they're a hot lead, wants to sell, hot, warm, or cold. The first step you need to know is learn the fundamentals of wholesaling, right? That's the first step. Understand how to actually wholesale. If you understand how it works, right, that you're getting a purchase sale with the seller and then you're getting an assignment with the buyer, and you understand that you need to get the property at a certain price to make a profit, and you understand that you need to market to these sellers and you need to qualify, and that not every single property owner you talk to is gonna be a deal. It has to have motivation or the condition is bad, one or the other. And you also need to identify if it is hot, warm, or cold. When are these people looking to sell? We don't want to talk to someone every day that is not going to sell till next year. Okay, so learn the fundamentals of wholesaling. Next step is pick a market. You want to pick a market, which in the next video we're going to go over different types of markets, virtual or not virtual, right? Then the next step is pick a market. Pick a state and then pick a county in that state that you want to focus in, and then start marketing towards that area. Then talk to as many homeowners as possible. You want to talk to as many homeowners as possible and ask if they want to sell, and then make an offer. Or if they don't want to sell, get them out the way. You don't need to waste time. Then the next step is get the property under contract with a purchase sale agreement, and then sell to an investor with an assignment. Okay, guys, that is it for this module. In the next video, and I honestly recommend that you watch this video a couple times and just soak it all in, because it is a lot of information. And I've paid a lot of money to know this information.